Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Board of Commissioners meeting August 5th, 2025. 4.
Don't take us a year.
Been a long vacation. Never did a long vacation.
Long, hot summer.
There you go.
First, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Miles.
If I could have you join me, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we will have the approval of the agenda. I have one change. We have new business. Polly Hire is here to do a report, and we'd like to move them to A, new business, and community and economic development to B.
Mayor, I'd also like to add a discussion for waiving the fees for assisting the 2 local football teams in field fees. We can discuss that.
C, new business.
That would be under old business,
Old business.
general, item 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. I'm not sure if everyone is aware that of the passing of our former commissioner, Mr. Curtis Strickland. He was a commissioner here for many years to the town of Zebulon, and we will definitely miss him. And I would just like to take a moment of silence. Thank you. We have a proclamation, but I'm going to hold on to that one until the family gets here. They're on the way. Is that him? And we'll move to public comment. And first we have Dallas Pierce.
My name is Dallas Pierce. I reside at 434 Rogers Road, Zebulon, North Carolina. My wife and Susan and I attended the Commission's work schedule of June 11, 2024. When the meeting ended, a closed session was being held and we left the Commissioners' meeting to go home. As I was going down the stairs, Commissioner Shannon Baxter walked past me and then turned around and faced me, obstructed my path, and said in a loud voice, "What is your problem?" I told her that I didn't have a problem with her, but I did not like what she said about me during her podcast. To my surprise, and without any provocation by me, Commissioner Baxter said in a much louder voice, "Are you threatening me? If you are threatening me, we have people who can take care of threats." At this point, I realized that Commissioner Miles was videotaping Commissioner Baxter and me with his cell phone. I continued to go down the stairs to leave the building with Commissioner Baxter following me and Commissioner Miles videotaping. My recent knee surgery made navigating the stairs challenging, and I was holding on to the railing. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I looked at Commissioner Baxter and told her I did not like her confronting me. After I exited the building, Commissioner Miles walked up beside me and stuck his cell phone directly in front of my face. This incident did not end with the confrontation in the town hall. I was later contacted by the Zebulon Police Department and told that Commissioners Baxter and Miles had filed a complaint against me and asked if I would be willing to be interviewed. I met with the Zebulon police officer for the interview. The Wake County District Attorney reviewed the investigation by the Zebulon Police Department, and the District Attorney declined to file any charges against me. The confrontation with me, initiated by Commissioners Baxter and Miles, made me fearful that I would be distracted by their attempt to confront and intimidate me, causing me to lose my balance and re-injure my knee. I am convinced that Commissioner Baxter and Miles planned the confrontation to provoke an incident with me that they could then use to charge me with a crime. I cannot come up with any other explanation for their bizarre, weird, and outrageous behavior. We should not condone this type of behavior from anyone, in particular our elected officials. Commissioners Baxter and Miles took an oath when they took office that they would obey the laws of the land and treat all citizens fairly in the performance of their duties. Commissioner Baxter and Miles disregarded their oath as commissioners by their actions toward me in this incident, bringing shame on themselves and the town of Zebulon. In my opinion, Commissioner Baxter and Miles should immediately resign from the Zebulon Board of Commissioners. If they do not resign, the Board of Commissioners should hold a public hearing to determine if Commissioners Baxter and Miles should be officially censored and sanctioned for their misconduct. Unless Commissioner Baxter and Miles are publicly reprimanded, I am convinced they will continue to engage in unacceptable conduct to the detriment of the citizens of the town of Zebulon.
Cornell Taylor.
Good evening. To the Honorable Mayor of York and Board of Commissioners, it is a pleasure being here on this evening. I'm here in support of Mr. Dallas Pierce. For the record, my name is Cornell Taylor, and I reside at 5274 Brantley Road, Zebulon, which most of you know me. I've been in business in the town of Friendly People for over 20 years. And during that time, I met some outstanding people. And Mr. Pierce is one of them. We have served together on several boards. And during that time, I got to know him personally. Not what somebody have said, not what I've heard, but I got to know him personally. I believe Mr. Pierce to be an honorable and a man of integrity. He has given of himself and his finances without condition of receiving anything back. I've never known anything that will make me question Mr. Pierce's ability to get along with anyone. As a matter of fact, I do know him as a peaceful person. As a retired law enforcement officer, I feel that I have the ability to be a good judge of character. I spent 26 years in law enforcement. I find Mr. Pierce to be of good moral character, and I am happy to call him my friend. Thank you.
Miranda Todd Harrison.
Good evening. I do have members of my family with me here today. Can they come stand with me as I make my statement?
Sure.
Yeah. Mike, a little closer. I can also come closer to it. My name is Miranda Todd Harrison. I am the great-granddaughter of Mac Todd Sr. and the trustee of Marion Todd, who owns the property of 934 Barbie Street. I stand before you representing my family, the Todd family, of which we have 175 signatures that we have collected, to ask this board not to approve the rezoning of 901 Mac Todd Road. Let me be very clear, we are not opposed to growth in this area. We see that it is happening and we are all for progress. We just ask for you not to approve of changing the zoning currently at 901 Mac Todd Road. As it is single-family housing. Multifamily housing will impact the tranquility of the property where my family has been residing for over 150 years. It is the resting place for our ancestors. Our family, we gather there often. They take trail rides together. And so we are asking that it not be approved, that the multifamily housing, for it not to be approved and for it to remain a single family zoning. Thank you.
Next is, I hope I don't mess this up, Demetria Falling.
This is my first town hall meeting anywhere. I'm fairly new to Zebulon, and I can understand what this lady's saying about her family and her property being impacted. I recently moved to the Barrington a couple of years ago from Charlotte via New York, and I purchased my property, there. I'm rather concerned about things that are going on, not only in the Barrington, but the other subdivisions that are also in the area. On July 2nd, I received a video from my neighbor of 4 people walking in private property at 4:30 in the morning, all dressed in black hoodies. That means they're up to no good. Nobody dresses at 4:30 in the morning walking on private property. So I was concerned about that. I sent the video out to others, and we all have concerns about that. And I found out that the other subdivisions in the area are also experiencing the same concerns. I spoke with Detective Bridges, who suggested that I come here and bring up these issues, because I've never seen a policeman in the area at all, and I understand that there are other issues. I went to a funeral in Hampton, Virginia, returned on the July 20th, because the incident that happened with these folks in the back was July 2nd. On the 20th, I came back from a funeral, and I was awakened by my neighbors at 4:45 in the morning, saying that his son's car, who just arrived a few hours earlier from Florida, his son's car was stolen right there with no key. So apparently, technology is to the point where if you have a key fob, they can have an app on their phone and steal your car. They've found the car in Raleigh. When I spoke with the detective a week or so ago, he told me the 2 cars were stolen that night. 2. And I think if we had security or a neighborhood watch or something in that area, that we would feel more comfortable. I have decided to buy a firearm. I'm a New Yorker. I never had to have a firearm in New York. I come to a bedroom community like Zebulon. It has an immense growth is happening. I've seen it since I've been here. But when something like that happens, you have to increase security, support of the neighborhoods, something has to occur. And that's why I came here, because I'm sure others are probably experiencing the same thing. The other issue I'd like to speak with is that street is very narrow, and it has been widened since I have arrived. But people are flying through there like a bat out of hell. And there are children there. There's the Boys and Girls Center is there. Kids are starting to play and so forth. And someone is going to get hurt. I think they should probably put a speed limit sign up there because there's not one. From East Gannon to Old Bun and Proctor, I think that's what it is there. So that's all I came to say. But I hope everything works out, you know, because we don't want to lose the comfort of living in Zebulon so far. I was very comfortable until a month ago. So please help me.
Thank you.
That's all.
Ophi McCoy.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, Madam Clerk, and staff. My name is Ophi McCoy. I live at 1208 Pierces Road here in Zebulon. And I'm here just to give you just an idea of what the Lions Club of Zebulon does. I am the new president, and I wanted to introduce myself to you and to let you know that we are available to help in any way whatsoever. I feel that our goals are the same. You strive to make the community better. And the Lions Club, which is an international organization worldwide, strives to do the same. We focus on vision, finding those children that perhaps have vision problems that can be cured, and many other things. So I'm also the first female president of this club, which is a biggie for my club. We are here to serve you, so use us as you can. On another issue, taking off my Lions hat off, I wanted to speak just briefly on the Chambly house that sits on Horton. It is the first house in Zebulon, also had the first child born there, and it's a great opportunity for this commission to do something really magnificent and beneficial for the whole community, not only for the town of Zebulon, but perhaps to make it a pocket park for that neighborhood. It's a great opportunity to preserve heritage and still do something really great for the community. So I hope you will give it very careful consideration when it comes up to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill?
Hello, everyone. My name is George Rowe. I live at 744 Rosemary Drive in Zebulon. And I'm here, thank you for adding us to the agenda tonight, but I'm here with Officer Mitchell.
Hey, I'm Officer Mitchell. I just moved here to Zebulon. I just want to thank the community for welcoming me in with open arms. Ain't been nothing but good service here. So,
We wanted to provide a quick update to the board. We managed to get our team officially back in Zebulon. So the old youth football team is back in town. We handed out pads. We have the numbers. Thank you for, it's basically just giving you guys kudos. Thank you for Parks and Rec for finding us the space to play the games, for getting us practice space. Thank you for the commissioners for your support. Thank you for the guidance. We got our 501(c) officially, so we're on the books. And to the Zebulon Police Department, this man right here, he's our coach, Sergeant Carroll, for coming to see the kids and helping them, break down those barriers. I'm from New York as well, as they stated, and in New York you're taught to don't talk to the police, they're scary, and the way they're engaging with these kids and they're helping them on a one-on-one basis and opening dialogue is really, it's helpful and it's wonderful to see. So thank you to the Zebulon Police Department. Thank you to Parks and Rec. Thank you for the commissioners. I don't know if you wanted to talk about your experience.
My experience so far right here, really in a lot of areas, nowadays, kids got a lot of things at the palm of their hands. A lot of the crimes here and a lot of other places, a lot of juveniles, like those type of crimes. There's been amount of calls I've answered here with stolen vehicles, considering with juveniles. And to, I guess, help with that situation, I figured I'd do outreach through a sport I love, which is football. And I actually picked up a kid today to make sure he did get to practice because he didn't have a ride. So stuff like this, other little things, events, sporting activities where we can get the juveniles off the streets and give them something to do, I think it will help with a lot of the crimes. So if you can help out this organization, the organization that's trying to start here in this town, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did we have anyone for public comment, email or letters?
No, sir, we did not.
Thank you. We see that the family is here for Terry Wayne Hunter. If they would meet me at the podium, please. It's a proclamation for Terry Wayne Hunter Jr., February 15th, 1985, July 23rd, 2024. Whereas Terry Wayne Hunter Jr. was born and raised in Wendell, North Carolina, and whereas Terry attended East Wake High School and went to Hargrave Military Academy, where he graduated in 2004. And whereas during those years he made a name for himself on the football field as well as a great athlete. Whereas in 2005, at 6'4", 245 pounds, he was selected a strong side defensive end for the University of North Carolina. Whereas Terry shared his talent and love for football by nurturing the next generation by becoming a coach with the Wendell Rams football organization. And whereas he was known as being the kind and loving friend and mentor, and whereas Terry Wayne Hunter Jr. passed away on July 23rd, 2024, following a fatal car accident. Whereas he is survived by his wife, Samantha, his two children, Jada and Keenan, and his mother, Sharon Hunter. Now, therefore, the Zebulon Board of Commissioners gives their sincere condolences to the family and friends of Terry Wayne Hunter Jr., who will forever be remembered as a gentle giant who looked after others before himself. May he rest in peace. Signed this day, 5th day of August, 2024, Mayor Glenn L. York. Next, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. New business. We will have a report from Polly Hire.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As you know, we are in the middle of recruitment for our town manager, and I apologize for my voice because I'm dealing with a cold. And the recruiter, Polyhire, is here tonight to update you. If you remember, in my memo to you, I did attach a report from Polyhire, and so the president will go through that. And then if you have questions for him, you'll be able to directly answer that with regards to where we are in the hiring process, as well as what's next. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor York, Madam Mayor Pro Tem Harrison, board members, and leadership and constituents. My name is Kenyatta Azell. I'm the founder and CEO of Polyhire Executive Search. We're based out of Washington, D.C., but we operate nationally and have worked in 29 states across our country in helping elected boards, appointed boards, identify their senior staff. We have a strong presence here. One of our recruiters actually lives in Durham, North Carolina, and I am a North Carolina native, born and raised in Goldsboro and educated at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I'm excited to be before you all this evening to provide you a quick status and update on the progress we're making on your search for your next town manager. We entered into a contract with this town on June 28th of this year and began our process on July 1st. During that time, we've had an opportunity to meet with each of you, your commissioners, to discuss from you and hear from you what your desire was and hopes were for our next town administrator. We've also had an opportunity to meet with each of the department directors in the town to understand from them what they feel is important for their next leader, the person they would be supporting in this role, as well as your interim town manager. And from those conversations, our profile was developed. So on July 11th, a brochure, which is on our website, polyhire.com, and also I believe it may also be on the town's website, has been developed and is posted. That profile is used to attract and provide information to prospective candidates. To date, we're actually receiving a very strong response from what we expected initially. We are actually, this week makes week 6, if I'm not mistaken, of our process, and we are at about 14 or 15 individuals that have expressed interest thus far. Our goal is to present you all with a viable, highly qualified slate of applicants for your review no later than the end of this month. And that's kind of where we are right now, and I wanted to make certain that I stood before you and allowed you to ask any questions of me about our process and providing any additional details that might be helpful as we go through this process to identify individuals for you.
Any questions from the board? Commissioner Harrison?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to extend my gratitude to you all for your search. I know the beginning was a little bit much to get all of us together and to meet with us. And I will say I missed an email from you all, so I apologize because I was upset about it, but I actually did get it. So I just wanted to thank you for your efforts and for taking the time to get us what we need for this community.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Good.
Well, you all know where to reach us. We look forward to presenting you a strong pool of candidates the latter part of this month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Economic Development Strategy.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It's been a long time in the work, but we do have a strategy that I'm bringing before you this evening in hopes of your approval. The process began a year ago, actually in June of 2023, where we did an environmental study of all of the plans that already exist in our town to understand the direction and to match that with the strategic plan of 2030. And then from that information, we had several community cafes. We had 3 of them. I think all of you attended at least one. Some of you attended all of them or several of them. We had really good turnout, and we were able to gather a lot of information from citizens. We took that and did a survey, community survey at the same time, which had some questions that could be asked in the future so that we can balance our progress based on consumer input. And from all of that information, the consultants that we hired, Fountain Works, they were able to bring some things together and pull us some staff and some members of the public in. We did have business representation, our chamber president and, executive director, and our representative from Wake County Economic Development. And we were able to work together for a half day to come up with to pinpoint the data into areas of focus. That information was then given to our business work group. They met 6 times, and they worked through that information that we kind of pinpointed and came up with a vision, fine-tuned those 5 areas of economic development focus, and then we brought that back to the public for presentation just recently at a cookout, and took some of that information to heart, explained a lot of what we're doing and what we'll be doing in the future to citizens that attended before and citizens that were newly attending. And then now we are at the last phase, which is adoption by the commissioners. So I want to answer any questions you have. I can read out the 5 areas of focus if you're interested in that. I think all of you have been through this process with us and the citizens, so you're probably very familiar. I know you have the document. So please.
If you wouldn't mind,
Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
if you wouldn't mind, would you read out the 5 areas so the public, general public doesn't know?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll put this back as well. It has the 5 areas on there. So when all of the information is gathered and synthesized, it came down to leverage regional assets. The basis of this is that we as a town cannot be everything to everyone, nor should we have to be. There are assets in the region that can provide service. We can fill gaps of those regional assets. And so that was one of the focuses that would go for fostering collaboration, and also when we're looking at how we build out our retail and services. What does that look like for this community? And the full document, once approved, will be on our town website, and you'll be able to see, any citizen will be able to see all of the information, because it's over 200 pages, the entire document. So you can read into any of these areas and get more information. The second area is inclusive economy, and that is looking at providing high-quality jobs and amenities that are needed in this community. It doesn't necessarily mean bringing more of the same, but augmenting and adding to our mix. Also, this is an area where we ask this Fountain Works, our consultant, specifically in this project, to look at giving us practices for mitigating displacement from gentrification. So gentrification occurs when you have development. It's a natural occurrence. It's when values of land gets higher, and sometimes businesses and residents aren't able to stay in their place. But there are programs and there are processes that can be instituted. Most of them are generated through the community with support of government, and we were able to get a pretty good playbook in this document for some areas that the community can look at, and I will be helping foster groups through those conversations. And then that also includes housing, trying to look at the housing that we're missing and the housing that we need. So we will be doing a housing study this fiscal year that will help us determine exactly what those areas are and what types of housing is needed here. The third is key economic growth areas. I'll keep that one pretty simple. We definitely want to develop the 5-county stadium area currently and with future use. And we also want to focus on that very intentional development of downtown. And we'll be doing a downtown master plan this fiscal year that will start the process of determining the look and feel of downtown, how that will play out over the next 5, 10, 15 years, and that will have huge community involvement as well. The fourth area is really supporting businesses, and that is in traditional ways like the launch program that the Chamber and I are working on with Wake County that supports entrepreneurs. It also can be in other types of business support. Sometimes it's bringing support here that's needed that already exists. So it doesn't necessarily mean that staff has to create every program, but we will be shoring that up and looking at the deficits and providing services there. And the last is economic readiness. And economic readiness has a few components. One is infrastructure, and that is a big word that holds a lot of different meanings for different folks, but it's necessary to address our infrastructure needs for growth. And we have water needs for industry. We have transportation needs for workers. We have road construction needs for citizens to be able to manage. And there's also a focus on sustainable growth. And that is really, I think, what the town is looking to encompass as they move forward with plans. And this plan didn't seek that, but found it in the responses from citizens and businesses. And so those are the 5 areas. I'll take any other questions.
Commissioner Miles? None. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Harris?
No, sir.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Davis?
No, none of this.
Well, this is a very comprehensive report, and I encourage everybody to read it and dissect it and digest it as best they can. But thank you for your effort.
If I may say one last thing. I want to ensure that when we go through this program, that one word that you use, gentrification, I want to make sure we definitely take a serious look at how we can make sure that we protect the people that are here. I know it's part of the growth aspect of things, as you stated, but if we can ensure we explore all options to ensure that those who have been here, we protect them as best as possible. Thank you.
Yes, and Commissioner, I will say that the Chamber is planning a housing forum in October at Wake Tech, and I'm assisting in the planning of that. And we will have organizations there that are interested in expanding their services here for exactly that reason. So there's already work being done, but there is a lot more to do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Economic Development Strategic Plan.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark.
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Memorandum of Understanding, Chief Perry.
Good evening. I come to you tonight with several items on our agenda. I think this may be a record for me to be speaking in front of you with this many items, so we'll make short work of them. That's right. When I got that commissioner, that's what maybe give you a couple more items. Our first item for your consideration tonight is our update to our contracts with Wake and Johnston County. The first one in Wake County, our current contract with them carries us through the end of June of next year. However, the county has come to us and would like to amend the contract with them. There's 3 changes that this amendment, should you adopt it with our contract with Wake County. And this enables us to provide services outside the city limits to the Zebulon community. Primarily, the change involved in our current contract allows them to pay part of our capital expenses annually instead of just when we incur them. Our current arrangement says when we purchase something new, a capital purchase, then they reimburse us for part of that expense. The way the contract is being rewritten or is being proposed to be changed is they will just pay us an annual amount, and then we can make those purchases whenever we need to, which is something that we react very favorable to. That gives us the ability to make capital purchases when we feel they're needed. The second item within this memorandum change is to pay off the existing debt. So in the old model, they paid us as we made purchases, and then they paid us back over time, if you will. So they owe us some money from our last 2 fire truck purchases. So to kind of clear that off, the county would like to go ahead and pay us the money that they would be paying us over the next few years. So that's a little more than $200,000 that Wake County owes us that they will go ahead and pay us in October of this year. And then the last thing, there's some new language related to the way when fire departments build new fire stations, how the county determines how much they'll pay and how that affects their cost share. So that language has been vetted through the County Fire Commission and is coming back to you as part of this contract amendment as well. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have related to the Wake County contract amendment.
Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Davis?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Harrison?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Miles?
You may have addressed this. The old vehicle, once we purchase this new one, what will we do with that one? Just to make sure I understand completely with the old vehicle that we're.
Sure. So it falls under one of two scenarios when we replace the vehicle. If the vehicle was purchased jointly between us and the county, they pay a part of it, we pay a part of it. Then when that vehicle is sold or done whatever we do as far as disposal of the vehicle, we have to pay. So if they paid for 50%, theoretically, if we sell that vehicle, they get 50% of the proceeds. The other way that is, there's some of our fire apparatus the county owns completely. For example, our tanker and our brush truck, those are county-owned vehicles, so they assign them to us, and then when the end of life comes, they take those vehicles back and then they surplus them or reassign them to another department.
Okay. Do we have a way of maximizing our return once we sell them? How much leeway do we have for us pricing-wise? I know in the past, like we kind of not really gave them away, but we gave them at a good deal. Is there some way we can ensure that we get some of that money, recoup some of that money back?
Yes, our best return historically has been through public auction, like Gov Deals, as an example. That's just one type. We sold, you may recall in 2019, we sold our ladder truck, the old ladder truck, and got a very good amount of money back for that. So that has been our best way. That's not always it's not always foolproof, but historically that's been our best way to put money back into the system, so to speak.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments concerning contract amendments?
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yes, Commissioner
For
Davis.
the return that you were speaking of that we would get from Wake County for the debt that's owed, what does the time frame look like to receive those funds?
The fund that they owe us?
Correct.
I think it's payable to us in October. The county has a cycle of where they pay, typically we get paid every month, money from the county, but they settle some of their accounts, if you will, in October of each year. So October is when they told us to expect that.
Any other questions?
Will those funds automatically come back, or do we have to receive those funds? It will be come back to us once you get those funds, then we have to receive them back into general fund, is that correct?
That may be a Bobby question, but we know what that amount is, and we're expecting it. So it would roll right back into our fire apparatus funding plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Chief Perry? Are we ready for a motion? Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Wake County?
I make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Wake County.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Discussion. Roll vote. Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark.
Favor.
Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Very similarly, we also contract with Johnston County. We provide fire protection to some of the northernmost parts of Johnston County in the area of Highway 96, where we are closer than other fire departments. So they contract with us to provide those services. Historically, it's less than 30 calls a year that we respond into those areas. Johnston is on an annual contract because they are doing some major reformation the way they fund the fire services in Johnston County. They're moving from a individual fire tax district format to a fire tax district that is the entire county. So what they have done is incorporated those changes. It really doesn't make a lot of difference for us, being that we just serve such a small area, but it does have a difference in the contract language to show how the funds are generated. So historically, we were last year, or last fiscal year, we were paid about $18,000, just over $18,000 to serve those communities or those subdivisions. Under the new contract funding methodology, it's anticipated we'll be compensated about $29,000 to protect those same areas. So with that, the contract is very similar to what we've had in previous years, other than that one funding change. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions you may have on the contract with Johnston County.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Am I to understand that this will be beneficial to the Johnston County? It sounds like it'll be a great benefit to them. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I'm sorry?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? What beneficial they are?
Prior to our contracting with that area, those homeowners had very high fire insurance ratings, not to mention they had an extended response time. So when Johnston came to us about serving those areas, we were able to provide a quicker response time and the insurance decrease because we're just so much closer. Anything over 6 miles from a fire station pays very, very high fire insurance rates, and most of these properties are within about 4 or less miles from our fire station.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for Johnston County?
I make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding for Johnston County.
Second.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison? Favor. Commissioner Clark?
Favor.
Commissioner Davis?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
My next item for you is a fire engine replacement appropriation. We had talked with the board probably about a year ago, maybe a little longer than that, about our need to make sure our fire apparatus stayed on a schedule to keep them reliable. That is becoming more important than ever with our increased call volume. What we have noticed as we begin this process is it may likely take 3 to 4 years to get a fire truck once we order it. There are some programs that we could get one potentially faster, but we see that it's going to be quite an extended time to get a fire truck and replace it. The one we'll be replacing will be 20 years old in 3 years. So that's our goal, is to get that truck replaced on schedule. We had hoped to get trucks replaced sooner than 20 years, but quite honestly, that's probably going to be about on schedule with our replacement. To make that happen and to start that process, we need to appropriate funds to begin that. So the budget ordinance in front of you takes those funds, most of which are in the fire apparatus capital fund, which is a fund set up for funding future fire trucks. The money that we just referred to that Wake County will pay us, that would go into that fire apparatus fund as well. But we just need to appropriate some money so we can begin the process of specifying and getting everything ready to order. Obviously, with a purchase of this size, once that is all taken care of, we'll be back in front of you to approve the purchase. But our first step is to appropriate the money. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Davis?
Chief, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So the funds are already there. We were just moving them. But when you were saying at this point, when I was reading this document, is my understanding that the funds might not necessarily be needed at the time?
That's right. We just need to have money designated for that project. We may not be making a single payment till 3 or 4 years from now.
Okay.
The only way we would pay for something earlier than the truck's arrival is if the board chooses to do some type of prepaid, which gives us an option, and I'll present those options to you if there's any that make sense when we look at the purchase. But short of a prepaid type discount, we won't make any payment until the truck arrives.
And moving forward at this time, is it my understanding also this could be a potential savings if we move forward?
Yeah, so those trucks, due to emissions and a lot of different things going on, but those trucks are going about 2 to 4% per quarter in increases. So on $1 million purchase, a 2 or 4% per quarter does make a big difference if we delay the purchase unnecessarily.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, thank you.
Any further questions, comments? Commissioner Harrison?
I'm not sure if I missed the dollar amount. Did you say that?
So the total appropriation is $1 million.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
If you could, Chief, just elaborate. I know you told us numerous times, but the typical turnaround for a new truck is what? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, somewhere between, for a new truck, is between 3 and 4 years currently.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
I make the motion, we approve ordinance 2025-06.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion. Roll vote. Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark.
Favor.
Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, the last one for me tonight. Back in April of this year, you approved a pre-construction agreement with Wake County to build our fire EMS station. There were several components of that, all within the budget that you allocated. One piece of it, and thankfully the largest piece of that, is the design professional services agreement. The agreement that you see here tonight has been reviewed by our attorney, USDA, Wake County staff, as well as the architectural firm. We went through a lot of stuff to get this approved and get it all the different signatures signed off, if you will. The agreement, due to its dollar amount, does require commissioner approval. So if we come to you tonight, it is within budget. But this agreement is for your approval of the contract with ADW Architects PA in Charlotte. And I'll stand ready to answer any questions that you may have there.
Questions, comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve fire EMS station design professional services agreement.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. A roll vote. Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, Sustainability Board, Parks and Rec. Director Long.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you for this time to come back before you regarding the Sustainability Board. I want to just go over a brief timeline of where we've been. So in May of 2024, the board had provided direction to move forward with the Sustainability Board and wanted to assign the Parks and Rec Advisory Board those duties. But you also asked for feedback from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board met on May 20th, and they provided a response to the Board of Commissioners that basically said that they felt that the work of the Sustainability Board was important, but they felt that there would probably be others in the community that would be able to better support it, and that they wanted to be able to focus on recreation. On June 3rd of 2024, the Board of Commissioners adopted Ordinance 2024-49 to establish the Sustainability Board, and Resolution 2024-26 to become a B-City USA affiliate community. At that time, the board did not make an appointment to the Sustainability Board at their June meeting, which is why I'm coming back before you today. I know that becoming an affiliate of B-City is important to the Board of Commissioners. In order to do that and to facilitate that application, we don't just need the Sustainability Board, we need people appointed to it. So on July 5th, we drafted a Sustainability Board appointment and plan of action that was emailed to the Board of Commissioners. On July 15th, we followed up with the Board of Commissioners seeking feedback. We did take the draft proposal to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, walked them through it, and sought feedback. They unanimously recommended the proposed appointment and plan of action as presented. On July 21st, this plan was sent again to the Board of Commissioners seeking any feedback to prepare for this evening. I think it's important to note that the decision before the board this evening, while we have provided you with additional information on how the Sustainability Board could get started, and I'll walk you through a little bit of that, the action this evening is just for the interim appointment of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. So we're recommending interim appointment from August to January of 2020, it should say 25, I'm sorry about that. August 2024 through January of 2025 to appoint the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board at this meeting on an interim basis. And then immediately following that, we will be able to submit our V-City application. We will work at the first Sustainability Board meeting. We will work with the interim board on their action plans. So just to clarify the items that they'll need to work on to get the board moving and prepare for the your formal Sustainability Board to take their role. We would want to work with the Board of Commissioners, our appointed board, in the community through an application period to seek people that would be a great fit for the Sustainability Board and would have a lot of interest in participating. We would like to bring to you by December applicants for the Board of Commissioners to consider to appoint with a start date of January. We did put together just a draft action plan so that those coming on board might have an idea of some things that they would like to work on. It's up for the Sustainability Board to discuss the items that they want to work on. But as we are seeking to become part of Bee City and we want to continue to be part of Tree City, there are some things that we need to be able to address. So the action plan that we prepared is really just seeking to get the Sustainability Board on their feet and focus on the things we have to do to meet those requirements, and to start engaging with the Sustainability Board beyond that, so that in the first year they're not overwhelmed. We're very realistic in how they're going to move forward, and as we all get to know each other and get to know this program. So what we would be looking in September is just appointing chairs and co-chairs, drafting a work plan. You need to set meeting schedules, discuss upcoming programs. They may have some input that they'd like to provide. We will be working on a fall tree planting, and so working with them on what that should look like. And we also need to update the tree ordinance to recognize the Sustainability Board versus the Tree Board. So we'll work with them to go through that process. In October, we're looking to do a fall tree planting work day, and then Candy Cane Lane is a great opportunity for the Sustainability Board to work with the community to kind of get some engagement and some awareness of the Sustainability Board. Once you've appointed a new board, these are just some opportunities that they could work on that would help us reach those goals of working towards Bee City and our Tree City. March will have a heavy emphasis on Bee City, where there are a lot of resources out there. At the end of the day, you do have a committee that has to provide some input on these items, so we would be seeking to take information to them for them to navigate and provide their feedback. Let's see. So the consideration for the board this evening is strictly just to appoint the duties of the Sustainability Board interimly to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Mayor, maybe I can quickly jump in before you have a discussion. So I know Commissioner Baxter is not here this evening, but I did chat with her this afternoon about this subject. In email exchanges that we had that Director Long referred to, she had indicated that she has some comments, and I told her that our comments are we're still going to receive our comments regardless of your action tonight, because that will definitely play into the work we're going to be doing between now and the end of the year. While I don't know the nature of those comments, it will be good to still have them as we go through this process. So just something that I showed how we will do, and I wanted to make sure that you are aware of that.
Any comments, questions from the board? Commissioner Miles?
With the information that we just received from the town manager, I would like to know the board's thoughts on potentially just moving this to August 15th before we make that decision, so that we can hear those comments from Commissioner Baxter, and then make a decision, which is only a few days away, 10 days away. I don't know how that would affect, but...
You want to discuss that, or you want to make that a motion?
Well, discussion first. And
Okay.
if the motion comes to be, we can do that.
I don't know that the comments will, or Commissioner Baxter's feedback will stop us from appointing the board. This is something that we know we need to do in order to move forward with the Sustainability Board. I'm very excited that Parks and Rec Advisory Board has made it known that they feel more comfortable with actually having a Sustainability Board instead of adding that to their plate. So I'm not sure. I definitely want to support or hear what Commissioner Baxter has to say, but I don't see where those bearings will need to stop us from going ahead and doing what we need to do here today. But I think we can still add it to the work session as a conversation.
I think one of the issues that I see too, we can't continue to see B City USA. I think we all know, the board members, that is one of the biggest issues that she has, being that it is, quote unquote, one of those issues that she brought before us 10 days to allow her 10 days at the work session. Then we can vote and do everything we need to do. I don't know how much 10 days would hold up Park and Recs in the process. Is that 10 days gonna kind of keep you guys in limbo or hold you back that far?
I'm just trying to facilitate the B City USA application. In order to do that, I just need the appointment to the Sustainability Board. If y'all are okay waiting additional time, I mean, it doesn't impact what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, sounds good. I definitely would like to hold that. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, with that being said, is the application due by a certain time frame? It doesn't sound like it is.
No, I don't believe there's a cutoff. I think you can join at any time. I just knew that it was a priority for the board. It seemed that was, you wanted that, Commissioner Baxter several times had talked about wanting the Parks and Rec Advisory Board appointed. So if you want us to go ahead and move forward, we're happy to do that. The information within that we provided you, that draft proposal, none of that is set in stone. That's stuff that we would work with the Sustainability Board on as they get their feet wet. So we would be able to continue to work with you guys in the Sustainability Board on what we want them to focus on, but right now the only decision before y'all is strictly the interim appointment of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board.
And I'll now add that she wasn't expecting that anything is held up because of those comments. She just wanted me to be aware that she still has comments, and I said we'll keep moving forward, but we definitely want to make sure that our comments are going to be received by us as we go through the process.
Okay. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to appoint the Parks and Rec Advisory Board as the Sustainability Board members until the Sustainability Board can be appointed.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Davis?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you. Before we get started on the next one, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. I'm here to speak with you guys about 901 MacTodd Road, Ordinance 2025-07. I will keep this as a shorter presentation, as you saw my presentation back in June, but I will be here to answer any questions, as well as the developer will be, the engineer for the developer will be giving a presentation and answering any questions that you guys have as well. And then also we will be updating you on one new change to the proposed conditions. So the following standards are the standards laid out for any plan development. And I'm just going to go through them real quick. Just keep these in mind as we discuss this plan development tonight and as you get forward, work towards making a decision. 1, whether the proposed zoning map amendment advances the public's health, safety, or welfare. Whether and the extent to which the proposed rezoning is appropriate for its proposed location and is consistent with the proposed goals, objectives, and policies of the town's adopted policy guidance. 3, whether an approval of the rezoning is reasonable and within the public's interest. And then 4, any other factors you as the Board of Commissioners may determine to be relevant. And with this being a plan development, we're looking for development that is better than the stricter interpretation of the UDO, as stated in UDO 3.5.5. The property, the applicant is TMTLA. The property owner is Capital Properties of North Carolina, LLC. The property address is 901 MacTodd Road. The acreage is 2.3 acres. The current zoning is R4 conditional, which I'll speak to a little more at a later slide to kind of explain what that means. And then the proposed zoning is for a plan development. The site conditions, currently it's a vacant lot with some trees on site. The current zoning, as I previously discussed, is an R4 conditional zoning. So back in June 7th of 2021, Ordinance 2021-75 was approved, which was for a bungalow court, which is for the construction of a number of smaller lot, single-family homes sharing access roads. The reduced front setback, so the conditions that went along with this conditional rezoning include the reduced front setback from 20 feet to 15 feet, the reduced rear setback from 15 feet to 5 feet, and then a private maintained agreement to be established for the shared driveway and other common infrastructure as part of the homeowners association. And you can see the plan here on the right of your screen, which shows what currently could be built with construction drawing approval for this site. The future land use for this site is general residential. The timeline of activity for this project has been, the first review was submitted back in January on the 24th. A comment letter was sent to the applicant on March 11th. A TRC meeting was held on that same day, March 11th, convening to answer any questions that the applicant had about any comments that staff and development review partners had made on the application. On April 11th, the second review was submitted. A comment letter was sent out April 30th. The third review was submitted May 6th. A joint public hearing submittal packet was sent out on June 6th, and then we held the joint public hearing for this project on June 10th. The concept plan for this project, you guys have seen this at the previous joint public hearing, but it includes 13 townhomes as well as 3 open space areas. The green dotted line is a greenway that will be running along the back of the property within the back buffer there, as well as that blue line, which shows a path that will connect those rear dwellings to MacTodd, the sidewalk that would be constructed with this project, connect those townhomes in the back that are fronting the open space to MacTodd Road. So I cut out some of the slides that talked more in detail, but if you guys have any questions about anything that we discussed at the last meeting that you would like some more clarity on, feel free to ask them during the question period. So urban open space is being provided for this project instead of active open space, and urban open space is defined in our ordinance as The private common open space area located within an urban or higher density area that is intended to facilitate gathering of people, such as an outdoor dining area, plaza, or atrium. So you can see on this slide the different open space amenities that will be provided on this site, including a pocket park, outdoor grills, picnic tables, pollinator garden, community garden, and dog park, all of which are there to help facilitate that community gathering. So these are they're a little oddly aligned, sorry about that. The road improvements, so along MacTodd Road, that road is slated to be I believe a four-lane median, no, is it two-lane? Two-lane, sorry about that. Two-lane median divided road, with the developer being responsible for the construction of the curb, gutter, sidewalk, and planting strip on their side of the property, as well as a lane widening to accommodate the future median. So this is what the developer's proposing for what that might look like, and then as well a rendering that staff has provided of what that might look like visually with the drawing on the bottom of your screen. So those are the different areas. Architectural design, the developer will talk a little bit more about this, but these photos are a representation of what the developer is proposing for this site, and they will be here to answer any questions that you have about those. The utility allocation policy, this project meets the required 60 points, starting with 20 points and then getting points from different sections such as the parking, stormwater SEM, building site design, outdoor enhancements, clubhouse, additional active recreation, and additional urban open space. So one change has been made since the joint public hearing. The developer has proposed and has removed the language that would prohibit masquerading on the site. And the developer can speak a little bit more to that if you guys have any questions. Again, I just want to go over the standards for you guys one more time and just keep these in mind as you discuss and work towards making a decision on this project. The standards are as follows. 1, whether the proposed zoning map amendment advances the public health, safety, or welfare. Whether and the extent to which the proposed rezoning is appropriate for its proposed location and is consistent with the proposed goals, objectives, and policies of the town's adopted policy guidance. Whether an approval of the rezoning is reasonable and within the public's interest, and then any other factors that the Board of Commissioners may determine to be relevant. And then as well, with this being a plan development, that means that you guys enter in a dialogue with the developer and help to make sure that this development is better than the strict interpretation of the UDO. So with that, I'm going to talk through our recommendation as well as the planning board recommendations. So the planning board recommended approval of plan development 2024-02 for 901 MacTodd Road, finding that the standards of section 2.2.25.j and section 3.5.5 have been met, and the request is consistent with the comprehensive land use plan. Recommends approval of ordinance 2025-07 for 901 MacTodd Road, finding that the standards of section 2.2.24.j and section 3.5.5 have been met, and the request is consistent with the comprehensive land use plan. So the developer has a couple of slides to present to you guys that will hopefully help to answer any questions that you guys have.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. Pam Porter with TMTLA Associates, landscape architect and land planner out of Durham. And with me tonight is Mike Nadriga, who is the owner and developer for 901 MacTodd Road. I'll be brief. This is pretty much the same presentation that I gave last time, so I'm going to go through a little faster clip. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them at the end. And thank you, Kate, for the overview. Just a quick reminder, we were here on June 10th for the joint public hearing, and we did get recommendation for approval from Planning Commission, the Planning Board. And we do have staff approval as well. So just a quick overview of the site. It's located at 901 MacTodd Road. It is 2.3 acres in size, and it's currently zoned R4C, and we are requesting to rezone to a planned development or PD zoning district. This is the plan that Kate just had in her presentation. I just want to touch on a couple things real quick. That this slide is our concept plan for townhomes, which is considered single-family attached housing. It is not considered multifamily. The units will all be rear-loaded, meaning they will either front on MacTodd Road or front on the open space that is behind lots 10 through 13. The front setback is a little bit further back than the required 5 feet. We've increased it to 7.5 feet to give a little more space for those units that front on MacTodd Road. And this development will have a variety of amenities, which Kate went over in her presentation, but it's going to include but not be limited to a pocket park, a pollinator garden, and a dog park. And I do want to note that with the bungalow courts that was rezoned previously for this, had a lot fewer amenities than this. This has a lot more amenities than the previous zoning. And one of the big things is a portion of the Corridor 8 Public Greenway Trail will be constructed with this development, and that's the green line that's on the screen. The architectural standards have not changed since our joint public hearing on June 10th, but I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that there is a very long list, and we have to have at least 3, if not more, of these items on each of the units. And similarly, these have not changed either, but we need to have at least 4 of these items on each unit. And all of the noted building design elements are the same as well. And I do want to mention that we are still prohibiting vinyl siding. I think that's important because we had some conversations about possibly removing that condition, but we've decided to keep prohibiting vinyl siding for this development. And the noted single-family attached specific requirements are also the same. These are just some examples of what the townhomes may look like. Again, there's no builder that has been involved in this yet, but this is what we're aiming for. Some of the pictures don't have all the elements, so this is just an illustrative example of the style of townhomes that we are going to incorporate in this development. And these are our zoning conditions. Again, we eliminated the mass grading condition. So the site is only 2.3 acres, and mass grading allows us to grade the entrance, the access, and the lots at the same time. Since the site is so small, it is quite costly to come in and grade a road or an access and then come back and grade lots. This does not change the amount of area being graded. It just simply allows us to grade that area all at once, which on a small site makes a lot more sense financially, and from a staging standpoint, you're not having to stage the grading equipment twice. And let me go back to this plan really quick here. So the area that we have shown for the lots and the road and the open space areas, that's really it. I mean, it's 50 to 60% of the site, and it pretty much has the same footprint as the previous bungalow courts. We're not expanding the footprint, we're not adding units further down the road because there's simply not enough room. So we're staying within that same footprint, but we're just adding more units through townhomes. And I do want to make a couple notes based on the commentary that we heard earlier. The petition that was mentioned, that was the first time that either myself or the owner/developer has heard of any petition. We had a neighborhood meeting in December of 2023 and nobody attended. We've been working on this since the beginning of the year, and we've not heard from any of the neighbors with any complaints. And if we had, we would have liked to have had that conversation. We don't have the opportunity to have that conversation now because we're just hearing about it now. But the property's been owned by Mike since 2020. He's owned it for a while. A couple other things, townhomes are considered single-family detached. They're not multifamily. Multifamily is an apartment use. We feel that's inappropriate here, which is why we decided to move forward with townhomes. It gets a little more density, but it's not multifamily. It is considered single-family attached. We are consistent with the comprehensive plan and the UDO, and we have staff recommendation of approval as well as planning board recommendation of approval. And the last thing quick is, the PD zoning, we are getting more units, but we also have a lot more open space. We have a lot more amenities, a lot more than the plan before. Through the PD zoning district, we are able to commit to those additional amenities, as well as make sure we're committing to architectural elements and materials that are going to make these homes it's going to make a really quality neighborhood with the materials and the different architectural elements that we are including. So I did want to mention those couple things, and I am here for questions, and we thank you for your consideration of our request.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
I think for me, I heard you talk about you guys have not had the opportunity to meet with any of the neighbors. I think now that that's been brought to our attention, I think I'm trying to figure out what would be your opposition to facilitate that, to have a neighborhood meeting, potentially meet with the family that just stood earlier in the meeting.
I mean, we're open to having another meeting. It'd be really nice to hear concerns of the neighbors. I don't know what is available online for people to see in terms of our plan. So when I heard multifamily, I thought, oh, they think we're doing apartments, and maybe there's a misconception between what we're actually doing and what people have been talking about. I really don't know. I don't know, Mike, would you be willing to have another meeting for this? I think if that prevents a no vote, we would be definitely happy to entertain that. We don't want to come across as being not good neighbors. We've just not had that opportunity. When nobody shows up at a neighborhood meeting, we assume that everybody's cool with what we're doing, right? We don't have any opposition. I know that's in a perfect world, that's what happens, but when we have a petition with 175 signatures of people opposed to our project, it would have been really nice to have known about that before tonight.
I just think the date also, December 19th, most people are getting ready for Christmas, got different things on their mind, and the volume of family there, when I kind of went and addressed that, to have so few know anything about it, that was a little bit concerning for me. So I just want to make sure we extend that opportunity to where they can meet and get a full understanding of what you're trying to do and kind of how it would impact, ranging from their family graveyard to different things like that. So it's very important right now.
There are no graves on this property.
Next to it.
Okay, I just want to make sure that came up at
Correct.
the joint public hearing, and there are no graves on this
Correct.
property.
It abuts to their family graveyard, so I do want that to make sure they understand what potentially could be there. Thank you.
Commissioner Harrison?
Thank you. As you stated, we were not your developer as well as your owner weren't aware that there was a gravesite near the property, which we became known to that from our work set or the public hearing meeting when we asked you all about it, which was fine that you weren't aware of it. It would be very challenging for us as a board to overlook a petition with 176 names on it. With all of this information, I would really like to see you all take a moment and go back to the table with this family or with these concerned citizens. Can you tell me the average number of people that attended the neighborhood meeting?
We had nobody attend the neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
But also in the letters we send out, it's got my full contact information. So usually what happens if people can't attend is somebody will reach out to me, ask me before or after the meeting what we're doing, and I didn't get anybody call or email or anything, so.
Great, so thank you for that information. But now that we do have the attention of our citizens and of those that are in this surrounding area, I think it might be a great opportunity for us to have some conversation and for us to table this discussion into another meeting until you all are able to have that meeting or that conversation with those citizens. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark?
No comment.
Commissioner Davis?
My sentiments are the same with Commissioner Miles and Commissioner Harrison. As we continue to grow, we have to consider our citizens that are already here and how our growth impacts them. And so when I hear that 175, 176 is what I'm just hearing now, is the number that makes me very concerned. I was already concerned looking at the presentation when I don't see any names that attended the meeting. That raised a red flag immediately of why nobody was there and were they alerted in enough time to be there. And I know it's a standard that we have to follow, but if nobody shows and we try to move forward and now we're hearing 176, we're not doing our town a service. So I would like to table this discussion to give you guys the opportunity to go ahead and meet with our citizens. And it sounds like you're concerned as well, hearing that there's 175 people that.
Absolutely, and we knowing that our neighborhood meeting was going to be before the holidays, we sent out our letters earlier than we would have normally sent them out. There's a notification time period. We added some days to that because we know first mail's slow around that time of year anyways, but also so people could plan. You know, we send out the notices and it's up to the neighbors whether they want to attend the meeting or not, or reach out or not, right? So we do our part, and we don't send follow-up notices saying, hey, if you have any questions, reach out. My contact information's on that letter. We're happy to have that conversation. You know, we don't want a no vote, but we can't have that conversation if we don't know who we need to speak to.
No, just before you leave tonight, I can't make you do anything or mandate, but I would suggest that the young lady that got him spoke to represent the family, that you make sure you exchange information, figure out what and if you can do, and kind of go further from there. That would be greatly appreciated.
No, so I was just going to say I would make a motion to table this discussion to our, how much time do you think you all will need to meet with these, you know, the citizens? 2 months? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
All right. 2 weeks?
You sure that's going to, I would go on the high side. Let's at least give a month out to October time.
They got to coordinate with the
Coordinate the
citizens at
family
the
and
same
citizens, because I
time.
know some of the people that don't live in the area, they're going to vote. So that correspondence is going to be a little bit more tricky, possibly trickier than you think. So I would say we push it out to
our
October
next
time frame.
meeting.
So I would like to make a motion to table this discussion until our monthly meeting for October.
What's that date?
October.
Hold on, we're going to need a date specific.
Need a date.
What's the
The
date?
October regular meeting.
I have a question. If we're able to get this sorted by September, could we be on that agenda, or has that ship sailed for that agenda?
That'd be September 9th is our September meeting. October is October 7th.
I think with 176 names, just to err on the side of caution, we would, October
7th.
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 So I make a motion to table this discussion to our October 7th meeting.
A second.
Any discussion, further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll vote. Commissioner Davis?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
I wanted to say something.
Go right ahead.
I would also like to hear back from the family as well as from you all during that meeting. Favor.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, Gill Street Park, Parks and Rec.
Good evening again, Mayor and members of the board. I'm just going to kind of briefly go over our background. We also have Grady here with us. He works with our attorney firm and can provide some additional context if you have questions more in line with the environmental concerns regarding Gill Street Park. So just as a review, NCDEQ did place Gill Street Park at a 458 out of 624 sites, which was the lower 27%. And when they ranked for their pre-regulatory landfill sites. We engaged Mid-Atlantic to conduct soil testing at Gill Street Park. We did that with the understanding that there was a desire to do some development at the park, and we needed to have a good understanding of the soil in order to move forward with our projects. So surface level sampling indicated lead contamination above EPA regulations that had just changed. It appears that it focused primarily on the undeveloped areas along two of the perimeters and closed access and/or applied remediation, or we closed access and/or applied remediation based on the initial response we got from Mid-Atlantic when they did our surface level testing. Lab results confirmed the elevated lead levels at the park location. A final report was prepared by Mid-Atlantic and provided to DEQ, the Board of Commissioners, and the community. DEQ has invited the town to enter the program at their expense and on their timeline. I will offer the floor to Grady in case he's got some additional context.
Mr. Mayor and the commissioners, I think that's a pretty fair summary. I'd be happy to provide any additional detail you might need or answer any questions. But essentially, we have been invited by DEQ's pre-regulatory landfill program to put the landfill into the property into the program for a first step of sampling by the state program at the state program's expense, so that they can get a better picture of what the extent of the contamination is out there, and then take the results of that study, compare it to the initial prioritization that they did before this study, and figure out, is this site more of a concern than we had originally thought, so that we would clean it up more quickly, or were we essentially right the first time and it's a lower level priority? So this is just the state's invitation to do that first step of additional sampling at their expense. Once they do that and make a decision with respect to prioritization, then we can decide, well, do we want to wait for the program to actually do a cleanup, or might we want to do additional work at the town's expense in connection with doing the improvements out at the park? But with that snapshot, that additional information, we'll have a much better idea of where things stand and what kind of delays we're looking at. Are we talking about a few months, or are we talking about years? And so that's, again, it's the first step. We would only need to provide access to the property for the pre-regulatory program. It is a lot less burdensome than it sounds with respect to them coming out and doing sampling. It's a couple of days for them on the property. They're only using hand equipment like hand augers. They're not coming out with dirt moving equipment or anything like that. So the impact on people trying to use the park shouldn't be any worse than what you already have with the barriers. And so our recommendation, I think the staff has done a good job. I think the recommendation is appropriate to move forward with the invitation from the program.
Any questions? Commissioner Miles?
Currently, I'm not sure if you're aware, I think you heard the Park and Rec Director state about developing in the area. One of the biggest concerns when I talk to the citizens about currently this is the expense and the time, basically the timeline, first of all. If, as you stated before, whether it be something that could be short-lived or it's going to be long-term, years from down the road. If you're not aware, we just recently approved in our budget for a bathroom to go in that park, where they've been trying to facilitate for years now. So now that they're so close to the goalpost, they're worried about that time frame being pushed out a lot further than it should be.
Well, and the timeline for this round of sampling and the decision as to whether to reprioritize the site based on the experience of other towns in this program is going to be 4 to 5 months. Again, the sampling just takes a few days, but 4 to 5 months to get into the program with the state, have the state line up its contractor, have the contractor come out, do a couple of days of work in the field, send the soil samples off to the lab, wait for those lab results, look at them, decide whether to prioritize the site. That process, as a whole, is taking 4 to 5 months at most sites like this for most towns. And so what you'll have at the end, and again, that's all at state expense. And so what you'll have at the end of that time frame is a better picture of, all right, if we let the state, say the state decides that additional cleanup is called for and that it's a higher priority site, we will have a fair idea, are they doing it more quickly? Or are they telling us it's still a lower priority site and it will be years before we get to it in the stack of prioritized sites? If it's going to be years, then the town can take the property back out of the program and do the work at the town's own expense and speed it up. So we are really just agreeing to take the first step of getting this additional sampling done by the state at state expense and determine whether to reprioritize the site. Because there's a chance, it depends on the results. We don't know what the results will be. If the results come back and it's, oh, the problem is worse than we thought, we may get the state to take care of it more quickly at the state expense. At the other end of the spectrum, if the sample results come back and they're still not that bad, then you would need to decide, do we want to take it out of the program, do it at our own expense, and do it more quickly? Because our original plan, we had originally been told the program was not going to offer to do this round of sampling. So we had originally assumed we would be doing it ourselves at the town's expense. And so our thought was we would have the same consultant, Mid-Atlantic, that did this first 2 rounds of sampling, work with the people designing the bathrooms, the other improvements, so that at the same time people were out to construct the improvements, we could do any soil work that was required, so that it would not slow down the construction any more than it had to, and it would also be as cost effective as it could be. You know, there would already be people out there moving dirt and all that, and we could do the environmental work at the same time. So that had originally been the plan. So this is our view that we have an opportunity to get additional information at state expense. Unfortunately, maybe slowing things down that few months, but it may give us the opportunity to have more work done at state expense.
So what I'm to understand, potentially that both could be done at the same time?
Yes.
If we do.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and we'd already confirmed that with the consultant. They'd be available to help us coordinate.
At what point of the process will we kind of finalize that? Once we get that initial soil sample back, go through the first process, when you do the initial, or is it going to be later on, after that 4 or 5 months, we would find that out?
Well, our thought would be that we would go ahead and have the consultant say, to the extent we're doing the design for the improvements, that we could go ahead and start coordinating with the consultant at that point, because they would typically not charge us for that work to look at it and give us options. But then to actually make the decision would be when those state results came back.
All right. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments from the board?
I do actually have a question.
Commissioner Davis?
Director Long, did we ever even receive the initial lead levels? Was that presented to us here at the board?
There was a work session when we initially did the surface sampling on the day of, where we updated y'all with some information, or it might have been the next day. That was a while ago. But the report was provided to the Board of Commissioners on May 30th, 2024.
I see.
And then I believe that Manager Moore, or former Manager Moore, did provide that map in discussion about CIP-related items and considerations in working through the budget. So yes, the report was provided with the lead levels to the Board of Commissioners on, I believe I said it was May 30th.
May 30th.
Yep, and we also provided that to the community at that time.
And it did have the numbers. That's the part I'm trying to
Yes,
remember. It had the
it
numbers
did.
on it. Okay, so I can go back and take a look at that. Okay, thank you. The other concern was just what Commissioner Miles had brought up when I was reading this, when it said at the expense of the DEQ on their timeline, of just the possibility that that could be extended out for months and months or possibly years.
It could be, and I think that's just something we have to weigh out. The concerns that we have from an environmental perspective and the opportunity to work with DEQ, I think is also something that's important in this process, and that if they are willing to come in at this initial phase, because if you go to do some designs, there's even more due diligence that's going to be required. So we focused our original footprint kind of around where the playground was, just to get a sense. And that's the only locations we've got the foot deep data. And so that triggered us to do the surface sampling on the entire site. And so bringing in DEQ, they would take on the expense to do the entire site, and they'll be very thorough. They'll give us the best information that we could get so that we could make good quality decisions moving forward on what reclamation we want to do, because there's going to be decisions that have to be made. Are you okay as long as we just do a 1 foot cap, or just capping with paved surfaces? Or do you want to remove all of the landfill material and bring back new? And regardless of what the decision is, it's gonna have an impact on how you build those bathrooms, how we put in that playground, where we put them in. There's just a lot that's gonna go into it. And so no matter whether it's DEQ or us, we are gonna have to go through this process, and having DEQ guide us would be extraordinarily important to us to making very good decisions, because they are currently working with other communities that are dealing with very similar issues. So we are not in this alone. There are other communities that are having to address parks built on landfill sites. They are working with DEQ as well. And so I do believe that it's in our best interest to engage them now. We get more information, and then we can make the decision. Can we wait for DEQ if we have to wait for DEQ in order to have some of that shared expense? Or do we not want to wait that extra time, and we're willing to take on that additional burden of expenses to get things moving faster? And so there's just this step before we can even get there that having DEQ at the table is going to be really important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and if I might add, just to address, I think some of your question, it is a voluntary program. So even if, in our view, it's going to take them too long to do this first step, we can take the property back out and have the town address it. So, it's not that that it can fall into some sort of hole at DEQ, go to the bottom of a stack and not get addressed. Now, first of all, it's gotten DEQ's attention because there have been problems with responsiveness in Durham, for instance. So it's become more and more of a priority to them, which is why we got the invitation in the first place. But if they were to drag their feet, we could still take it back out of the program. It's a very easy process. It's a voluntary program. We could take it back out, and the town could move forward, not wait anymore. So, and then just with respect to the timing of the sample results and all, I wanted to emphasize, when the consultant was back out in April to do the surface sampling, they actually came out with electronic equipment that would give them a forecast of what the lead levels were. So we did not wait for the lab results to come back and get the report in May. The forecast we were getting was these levels in these areas will be above the standard, and the staff went ahead that day or the next day and blocked those areas off. So I didn't want you to think that there was any sort of delay by town or by the staff in addressing the situation. It was actually very, very quick.
No, thank you. Thank you for addressing that. Obviously, this park is near and dear to our community, and we want to make sure that it stays on a top priority. We want to be safe, so we want to do all the procedures for the testing that's necessary. We just want to make sure that this is not a project that gets pushed back further. This has been a priority for the board for quite some time. So when this came about, it became a disappointment. It seems like another setback, so we just want to make sure. And I hear exactly what you're saying, that if it's not in the time frame that we want it, we can pull back and the town can take over at the town's expense.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave, with the word expense, is there a kind of like projected cost that potentially can be associated with this right now?
We actually had the consultant working on a proposal before this, for the next round, before the state made its offer. So since the next round would be at the state expense, I don't yet have a proposal from the consultant. You know, we basically stopped that process because the next step would be at the state's cost. It goes step by step, the additional investigation. I would think it's probably $50,000 might be a good estimate.
Okay.
So again, it's state expense though if we're in the program.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And could I clarify that that's just for the additional testing,
yes,
not for the reclamation?
That's correct.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
I speak to my fellow commissioners right now. My biggest concern, as I've stated to Director Sheila Longa as well as the gentleman there, is that I definitely don't want this to kind of sit on a back burner somewhere, get lost in a pile, and we kind of be part of the program and kind of like I said, get lost in the shuffle there. That is my major concern there because, as I stated before, we finally have funding for a bathroom that these people have been asking for years. Well, when I say these people, that's those citizens in that area as well as the community. So I want to ensure that we put it a high priority on our list as well to get it done in a timely manner.
That being said, do we need to request that they stay in communication with us as the process goes along, so we can discuss that maybe at our, whether it's work sessions or next board meetings? But
that would be key. He said 4 months. I'm looking December, definitely hearing something back by December. And that's gives that pretty much that 4 months. What is August, September, October, November, December. That gives them 4 months.
I would just ask that, Sheila, if we could hold a space for you for our board meetings from now until then to keep us updated on where we are. So regular updates at our regular meetings. And are you saying all meetings or regular?
I'm saying pretty much we can give it
as many updates as we can
many
get.
updates you can get.
This process is complete.
And definitely by December, be ready to let us know where we stand in the process.
And I can offer this as well, as we have significant milestones each week in your weekly updates that you're receiving, we'll be able to keep you in the loop. So if there's anything substantial that's happening, like if we've met with DEQ, we'll be able to provide that information as we go along. So you don't have to wait until December, or if there's significant movement or no, you'll have an idea based on the feedback we're given in that weekly update.
Sure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll take that. I still want to, if we can discuss it during meetings as well, but I thank you for that.
Because at any time, I think you can add it to the agenda if you'd like.
Correct. I just want to make sure that we have this discussion.
So I would ask you to be prepared for that, possibly if we add it to agenda, just to be ready to give us an updated potential meeting.
I mean, if you want to add it to the agenda, or I can just work with the manager to give an update during the manager report. That way, I mean, you don't have to add it necessarily, but if we've got information, you'll see it in your weekly updates, and I'll just be prepared with whatever updates we have during the manager's report, if that's acceptable.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Any further questions, comments from the board?
That works for me.
Is there a motion to authorize staff to engage?
I make a. Go ahead.
I was going to, but okay.
No. I make a
Commissioner
motion
Harrison.
I make a motion to authorize staff to engage in the Department of Environmental Quality to ensure the pre-regulatory landfill program and execute any required agreements.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Further discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark.
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, reimbursement expenses for interim manager.
Good evening. Tonight, we're, just to review a little bit, we're going to discuss the interim town manager reimbursement of specifically lodging expenses. As part of the contract, it was approved on June 4th. It was clearly stated a rate of pay, and then it mentioned reimbursement of expenses such as mileage and meals and lodging. Well, mileage is a standard IRS rate per mile. We have meal per diem in our personnel policy, but the lodging portion of it was not very clear. So we're seeking some, it just mentioned a reasonable amount. So we're seeking some clarity on what's a reasonable amount. He's seeking reimbursement for the first month or so of when he was here. And just for, should his contract, should it not be extended past September, just looking for some clarity in the future contract, so we're not flying blind when it comes time to reimburse another possible interim. So any questions or anything on that?
Questions, comments from the board? Interim manager, did you have any comments?
I just want to make sure that it's a conflict for me to have to find some expenses, but when I started, one of the first things that I noticed was there was not hotel in Zebulon that I could stay in, and I also didn't want to share accommodation. And so the only Airbnbs that were available were in Raleigh or even further out. And so I was able to secure Airbnb lodging in Zebulon because I have to be here in town. But it was not more than $200 a night for that. And it was just me staying in there. That was from June 1st all the way to July 9th.
June 10th to July 9th, yeah.
June 10th to July 9th. And then subsequently, I scaled back my contract to 16 hours. So I really don't need to stay that long except when I am here. So since then, I think I've only been able to stay 2 nights at maximum of 253, I think it is, a night for that Airbnb. Being in town, being able to have access when I'm here is important rather than having to stay in Raleigh. So I think what the board needs to define as reasonable for me would be those first 30 days where I believe $200 a night was the Airbnb. And I believe it was for a period of about 30 days, or about a month almost. And then, but I haven't been staying in town as much except for 2 nights since then, which were not more than 255. So it could be that what the board defines as reasonable is that not more than $255 a night if I have to be here. But I do not envision, before my contract ends on September 10, I don't envision staying more than a night, unless it's at the request of the board or the staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'm a little bit, not confused, but kind of like what you just want
direction.
Direction for as the amount, which is $255 per night. Sounds pretty reasonable. In my research, kind of prior to the interim coming on board, even looking at the Hampton Inn, they were quoting about the same thing. And the accessibility right then was key at that moment. So now that we've worked through that initial, having them close by as possible is going to work in our favor, because even at the Hampton Inn, that rate for the same amount would have been, like I said, basically about $250 a night, about the same. So
yeah, I did have some Airbnb, I think, and I sent some of that information to the finance director. In Raleigh, for example, were like $12,000 a month.
Correct.
Yeah, that was just absolutely outrageous. But at the same time, I also felt like in the future, if we have a new manager will come in at some point,
Sure.
and they may not be able to move in with their family right away. something that we define here as reasonable may help them as well to secure some Airbnb opportunities, which are not many in Zebulon. So this action item will actually help not just reimbursement of my expenses, but also help to define what the future manager will have to do temporarily until they move their family or they move to Zebulon.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I applaud you for finding an Airbnb in Zebulon. Yeah, thank you.
You said applaud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a few that come in
I
and come in and realizing that we need, there again, the economic aspect of things for us hotel-wise.
Yeah.
Thank you also for that. And
I would err or maybe make the suggestion to have a per diem or lodging for $255 a night, or up to $255. So that would mean if someone was able to find something for less than that, that would be the reimbursement. Correct, Bobby?
Correct.
Okay.
Sure.
So do we need a motion?
Yes, in order for the finance director to, because at some point you're going to be audited. So I think that it's important for him to be covered by your action tonight.
This motion is I know you just said we're talking about also for the town manager going forward, but I want to make sure I'm understanding because we are looking at the reimbursement aspect of this as well. Is that correct?
Sorry, I did not understand that.
I want to make sure, so when we're talking about, when you mentioned making sure that we have a reasonable amount, we're talking about for the manager going forward, but we're also talking about for your reimbursement expenses
Yes.
at the
Yes,
same
ma'am.
time?
Yes.
Okay.
I would recommend those be two separate motions then, please.
Yeah, okay.
motion for 255 maxed out, and then a motion to reimburse the current interim town manager with his.
For expenses.
Which motion you going with first?
I think, well, I'm just making sure that we're doing
making sure we
two.
can say it.
I make a motion that we set the max limit of $255 for expenses for lodging for interim town manager
Per night.
per night.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Roll vote. Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Harrison.
Favor.
Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Motion passes.
Now I make a motion that reimburse the current town manager of the expenses that is already spent per contract for the dates of June 10th through July 9th, I think it is.
Correct.
He had
And
two more.
I'm sorry.
He said he had more.
For the 255 two nights.
Uh-huh.
And plus any additional nights that's currently already occurred.
Yes.
Correct.
So for all expenses that he's
All
already,
expenses that
all
currently
expenses
spent.
he's already incurred.
Correct.
Yeah. And any future that would go through the end of the contract.
That is correct. In the future, that will go through the end of the contract.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll vote. Commissioner Miles.
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison. Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Davis.
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
We had one other item to add. It was waiver fees.
Correct.
Commissioner Miles.
To discuss. If I could get Director Long up front. There's probably really nothing to be said on you guys' part right now. What I'm trying to do is have a discussion for us with the board. I know that we currently have two football teams that are kind of trying to get themselves up and started in our area. We have the Bearcats and we have the Aggies. We have two teams now that are kind of seeking our assistance to help them succeed in their process of getting football back in the Zebulon area. What I'm looking to do is figure out a way, first of all, to get a cost analysis of what it would be for the practice field. Basically what I'm looking for, where we can waive those fees for both teams, where we kind of set them up for success. I know that they've come to us and pretty much I think each of us in some shape, form or fashion and had issues with getting startup costs. And I feel that being that they're carrying the Zebulon name, that we as a municipality can do our part to assist them in the seed money. Once they get up and running, we pretty much can kind of hold them accountable for paying fees in the future. But right now, doing what we can to set them up for success. With that said, I don't know at the moment if we have a cost analysis of what it would be at the fields right now for both teams to utilize the field. Is that something that exists?
Yeah, so I provided an analysis when we discussed this at a work session, might have been back in May.
Okay.
I don't know if anything's changed from that initial analysis. I provided you with, specific to the Bearcats, because that was the request at the time.
Okay.
I did provide you with an analysis of the fee schedule, an analysis of what the cost to the town would be, and just some things for you to take into consideration. I can't speak off the top of my head if anything has changed with their request since. I know that there have been some added dates, and maybe, I don't know if there's been a location change for some of them. So that's something that I've got to go back to our staff. I was not aware that this was coming up tonight, so I wasn't prepared.
Correct.
But I will remind y'all that you do have in your adopted budget, there was $25,000 in your grants, your strategic plan grants. 5,000 of that was recognized as the applications that you accepted earlier in the year, and that we had proposed that the additional 20,000 be another grant process that you took on once the budget was adopted, and that you walk through that process. And so my concern in waiving fees just for a group or two is that we have a lot of people that rent our fields, and so it would be how do you apply that fairly and consistently, and do you want all of the, like every single request? We have a Hispanic soccer league, we have softball tournaments, there's quite a few different things that are going to come through. So if you wanted to, I mean, you can certainly have this discussion at the fee schedule level, but what I'm hearing you say is startup cost. And so that's a little bit different, startup cost versus field rental. And so if you're concerned about wanting to be able to support these organizations in that capacity, it might be worth us having that discussion on how are you going to move forward with the grants for that $20,000, just as a suggestion.
Okay. I probably used the wrong verbiage there, startup costs. What it is, basically, I'm looking to waive those. We can work together to waive those fees, or what we can do to help those teams succeed. What I'm saying, the startup costs, meaning their startup costs. I don't know if they have initially, I've heard ranging from $16,000 worth of equipment. I know they both have reached out to numerous community members trying to raise those funds. Having a little bit difficult time getting that. They finally, I think both teams currently have the equipment now, if I'm correct. And now they're just looking for ways to kind of like offset the fees or using the fields. So I'm trying to figure out what we can do. It's not to help that startup cost, it's to kind of, please.
So, thank you, Commissioners, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm one of the directors of the Zebulon Bearcats. What has changed since the initial application is that we received our 501c3 status officially, and the number that she gave in the beginning, Ms. Long, was high because we didn't have that. At the discounted rate, what we're asking for at this time is there's 42 practices from 6 to 8 p.m. that we currently facilitate. We use the soccer field behind the library at the end of Dogwood, and then we have 5 home games that we're going to use Community Field Park A. We tried as best we could from the feedback we received in that meeting to go about trying to fulfill our application, becoming a 501c3 nonprofit, opening our application to everyone in the community, trying to fundraise, trying to use our resources like the police department and some teachers and people in the Department of Education to come and help coach. And we're at this point now where if you were to waive the $3,345 that Nick from Parks and Rec has sent us, that's our total bill for the year, you would be allowing us to have all our practices and games and basically finish out our season. We did our best after the first meeting where you guys had informed us that you wouldn't be able to help with shoulder pads and equipment, which we understand. We had no idea what the town could or couldn't do. We went, and thank you to a lot of our sponsors, the Fall Line and Barnes Auto Collision and Repair. The list is long of people that gave us money to purchase all of our shoulder pads and equipment. But we return here now to see if it would be possible for you to waive the field fees for us so that our organization of over 55 kids could have a football season subsidized through the town of Zebulon. We're going to have the football season either way, whether we come to the town and the town supports us and supports the team, or we have to continue our efforts to fundraise and try to crowdsource the rest. But either way, that's what the application, that's why we're here today, in follow-up to our meeting that we had in May and the work session follow-up to that meeting.
I think one of the things that we were just looking for tonight was to get a dialogue started and maybe bring this back with the work session with more information.
Correct.
Since this is the first time staff is hearing this. So that's basically what this is, just to start the conversation.
Correct.
And move it to a work session.
Yes.
Which if you could bring on the 15th, I think we probably can add it to the agenda on the 15th, where that would give you time frame to get for both teams what it would cost for their field users, I think, with the Aggies as well as the Bearcats.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I know, I mean, in advance, I have no problem being able to get that.
Okay.
Thank you for, correct.
Is there anything else that you want at that time?
As for me, that's basically it.
Any other questions, comments?
I don't have any questions. I do have comments. I want to applaud you all for hearing us at our last meeting and for getting your paperwork and your 501c3. I think that speaks volumes. I really, really want to commend you for your efforts in bringing the teams together, as well as Commissioner Miles. Thank you for doing that. I know that the efforts may have been tedious, but to have a lot of different of the same teams representing our community can cause confusion. And I know we still may not have everyone in unity, but I wanted to take the moment to applaud you for your efforts to bring those teams together, because I think our community needed that. So thank you. And I look forward to hearing more on our work session.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Can we just do one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to make sure there's some separation, though. I'm all for bringing the Aggies along with us, and that's our hope, is that one day, maybe next season, when we're all completed with this season, we can find a way to work together and just have one powerhouse team. But I want us to, through the 501c3, I want us to be some separation between just people renting a field for a volleyball game. I don't want us to see us in that same light, because the amount of preparation, the fees, the process, the IRS that we had to go through to get here, the insurance, was way more intense than trying to just rent a field for a day to play soccer. So I just want to kind of we don't mind bringing anyone under our umbrella that wants to jump in with us, but this is a little bit more intense and bigger than that request. But you guys do you, but just remember that we're a little bit different.
I can assure you that I think each of us sitting there has worked with you. I don't think we take it that way. Just want you to know that we're taking it as you look at renting it for a daily volleyball game. We don't see that. We see the work that you guys are putting in for this team to be successful. We do see that.
Which is why, never mind.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Director Long. Is there anything you need from us? Or are you good to go?
Have some information at your next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for shortening this notice as well. Thank you.
Board comments? Commissioner Davis?
I'm actually going to take this opportunity to personally thank the Board of Commissioners, along with our mayor. Being on this board for the past few months, it really opens your eyes to see how much work and dedication it takes to sit in this seat. You are making decisions that literally affect the livelihood of each and every citizen. We also have opportunities to not just affect what happens here in the town of Zebulon, but Wake County as a whole. And this comes with a lot of dedication, a lot of work. This is not your typical 8-to-5 job. Matter of fact, I spend more time doing work as a commissioner than I do on my full-time 8-to-5 job. Having the month of July off was beyond needed. We are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally exhausted, and we get beat up quite a bit sitting in these seats. If you make a decision that is not what somebody else wants, they will take the opportunity to criticize and tell you how poor of a job you are doing. But far few do you hear the compliments and the thank yous. So I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of my fellow board members. That is Shannon Baxter, Commissioner Miles, Mayor York, Mayor Pro Tem Harrison, Commissioner Clark, and yes, myself. I am grateful to be here. And I can say proudly that every single person on this board has the town of Zebulon citizens at their best interest of heart. This comes with some sleepless nights. This comes sometimes with stressful days. And I am grateful to be here because it is worth every minute of it, knowing that you are impacting somebody's life in the most positive way. So despite some of the comments that we see on social media, in spite what we sometimes hear, I will always stand firm and give my board kudos. Thank you for your hard work and your dedication. This town would not be the same without you. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and to serve alongside of you. And I look forward to the continued greatness that the five of us will bring to the town of Zebulon and beyond. Thank you.
Amen.
Commissioner Clark.
I have something that previously I brought up that I wanted to have a procedure for the board on how to appoint people to the committees or different groups.
Okay.
So I just think we need some, procedure on what we need to do. I think some of the applicants, I think your applicants, we need to know, they need to be vetted. You just need to know, do it in a better way, a more efficient way.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
Commissioner Harrison.
Thank you. Adam. Mayor and board, I want to take a moment to bring up some extreme concerns that I have that I have emailed our interim manager, our interim planning director about Wedgwood Shopping Center. I myself, as well as my family, we spend time in Wedgwood. I love Carly C's. They have a great salad bar. And the last time I was out there, the day that I sent you all the email, I was disgusted with the appearance of the shopping center. I oftentimes take my kids to Dollar Tree on Fridays for their treat because they think they're spending big money. And the last time I took them, I had to shield my children from the overflow of trash that was coming from out of the trash cans in the middle of the day. I rode around there the day after I emailed you all, and there is still an excessive amount of trash, cigarette butts, just filth in that shopping center. And it is very, very disheartening for a town that's growing the way we are, a town that exemplifies just culture, friendliness, and all the good things, to have owners that don't care enough about their business to keep it up. I know that you all told me that the owners of this shopping center are out of the state, and so maybe that's why it's not as concerning to them. But I would like to direct our planning department that at this point, I know that I've made at least 3 complaints about this shopping center. And at this point, whatever we need to do to hold them accountable to the upkeep of this shopping center, we need to do that. And I wanted to make sure that we had this conversation at this moment so that we can move forward in whatever we need to do to hold them accountable to not continue to allow our town to be disrespected the way that they have been.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks. Oh, I wasn't done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Last weekend, I had the opportunity to attend the North Carolina Black Elected Municipal Officials Conference in Chapel Hill. And during that conference, I was able to listen to a panel or to take part in a panel discussion about heirs property and land loss prevention. Shannon, as Commissioner Miles mentioned earlier, gentrification continues to be an issue, not just in our community, but in a lot of communities. I have met with Ms. Mavis Gregg of Air Shares and Annette Hayek from the Land Loss Prevention Project and invited them to Zebulon. And I think at this time, while we are looking at our community engagement strategy, it will be a great time to bring them to Zebulon to speak to our citizens about heirs property, about their rights, and about how we can protect them from losing their land and from their properties becoming part of gentrification. So I would love to see some time set up for us to bring them in.
Absolutely. Would you mind sending me that information?
Will.
I know currently we've spoken with the Raleigh Area Land Trust and DHIC in Raleigh because they're just a local. But I know of lots of programs, and I would welcome that information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miles?
No comments.
As I had mentioned earlier about the passing of our town commissioner, Curtis Strickland, you know, he was also a firefighter for the city of Raleigh for many of years. And he was 20 years of leadership on the Board of Commissioners. And he leaves a legacy and service whose impact will be felt in our community for generations. So please join me in offering our prayers to Curtis and his family and his loved ones in this difficult time as we celebrate his life, and we may honor his memory by continuing his work toward a betterment of the town and the community in our future. Thank you. Manager's report.
Thank you. So we've got a few items on the manager's report, and I know you still have a few things on your agenda tonight, so we'll try to go through them quickly. And the first is development update, and I will ask our interim planning director, Adam Culpepper, to share that with us, and then Director Ray will come and talk to us about the end of year parade, as well as update on bond referendum. So, Adam.
I don't want to jump out of the presentation right now, but as you all know, we do have our interactive development map available. So anything that's coming before the board, any development that's occurring, whether it's construction drawings, preliminary conversations, things like that, that is all shown on our interactive development map. And you all know that you can reach out to the planning department and any of the staff if you have any questions about specific projects that are going on. We make sure that is as transparent as possible. It's not just a quick one-page overview. It is everything that gets submitted by the developers as it's going through the process. We want to make sure that we're very transparent as we're going through the development process. And kind of important things to bring up, as you guys may have seen, the 7-Eleven has begun construction. I'm sure you saw all the trees coming down. You will notice that there's some silt fence that's along the on and off ramps onto 64. Just a note about that, that's part of their sedimentation erosion control plans. That's part of the expansion and widening of those lanes. They have to put those out before they start construction. That's why you saw them go out immediately. In dealing with that, just to kind of point out, and we're continuing the conversation to making sure emergency services are fully aware of that, that ramp at some point during the project will have some night closures while they're doing the construction. It's a DOT requirement that they do any of the work on those ramps at night. And so we will make sure that it is not something that's occurring and disturbing the traffic during the day. And emergency services, fire and police will be well aware of those before they happen. So we won't have any kind of issues, may arise. In talking about other things that have been approved and come up, 401 West Gannon Avenue, it was a condo development that was a by right subdivision, was approved, and they will be beginning their process of, they have their now development approval, they'll be selling to a builder, and then beginning their construction process as part of that. Similarly, on the vein of commercial development, Tractor Supplies, you all know we had initially given them an early grading permit for them to start construction on that site. They have officially gotten their approvals. They have one other thing, they're getting to get their building permits approved, but they will be continuing the process and looking to go vertical in the coming days and weeks. And so you'll see drastic, changes to that area, but we're looking forward to it moving forward smoothly. Hopefully the rain holds off a little bit after this week and they can actually get some things happening, but that's I can't control the weather. Just to keep in touch of everything, and I'll have a more formal report with regard to the Board of Adjustment. Last week, the Board of Adjustment met and approved the variance for 2204 Zebulon Road, and that variance was to allow additional vehicle sales area in the proposed automotive sales lot on that property. They have not submitted their construction drawings, but they'll be beginning that process as the engineer and the developer are working through that. And that's one held by the property owner, who has been the property owner for, I believe, at least 20 years. So he's looking to move his automotive sales business to that site. You're good. But that was really all I have. And just if you guys had any questions about anything you're seeing around town, I'll be happy to answer them. If I can't remember them off the top of my head, I will get back to you. But if you guys have anything, I'd be happy to answer it.
Commissioner Miles?
No.
The property next, I think it's on Gannon, just about expanding the car dealership.
The 2204?
Used to be the Country Kitchen.
Auto Direct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm familiar with that property. That is is Auto Direct? Okay, so they have been in conversation with us at looking at expanding their business. It appears that they had posted on social media that they did make the purchase. So we'll be looking to see them coming forward with their construction plans. They wanted to get the property purchased so they didn't have any confusion later on. But, as always, that is going to be one that is going to be for that case, I believe that is already zoned commercially and they're just looking to do development, so it'll be by right. We'll make sure we keep updates that are happening with interactive development maps, and if you guys have any questions, always reach out.
So they bought that and the pond as well?
That's correct. It was the remainder of those properties that were as one sale.
That was our property. That was a property. Wow.
So they're not looking to use all of the property, but it was property that they would have to purchase in one time, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, for that
All right.
update.
Any other questions, comments?
No, all of us like, ouch. Okay.
Thank you.
Adam will always tell you that our population is closer to 12,000 than 11.
Yeah, I don't have the exact
You don't
number
have the
from,
exact
from
number.
today, but it's 11,700 and something was this week's population. We've seen
709.
709. There you go. So he's got it faster than I do. Yeah, we are continuing to see really rapid development in some of our existing subdivisions that are under construction. We have, Sydney Creek is the one that I always like to point out. Right now, there are 122 lots under construction. That is a lot of homes. That is about, they're getting close to half of the development being under construction or completed. So they are moving along rapidly. And I think it'll be, a great neighborhood when it's all said and done, but I know it is a lot of construction and a lot of change for people, but I think it'll be great in the end.
What about Cadiz Meadow? Why are we there? Cadiz Meadows, have they started anything? I know they're just basically clearing, is that correct?
Cadence Meadows has cleared their property. They're in the process of finishing some of their inspections for the Phase 1 road work. So they're in that process, getting bonds together and everything like that. I don't have a definitive timeline of when that's going to be platted and when they'll be going vertical, but they're in continued communication with our planning technician to make sure that the permitting process is as smooth as possible so they don't get held up at that point.
And last but not least, I know we don't have any control of Rosenberg Glen, but I'm starting to see signs all over the road. Are we kind of at least having communication with those guys because they're
Yes. Is that the one that's north of town?
It's on Rosenberg Road.
Yeah.
I started seeing signs everywhere, like Rosenberg Glen, correct?
So there's our code enforcement team is very active in taking care of those things, and they are in the process of communicating and making sure they understand it, rather than just pulling up the signs, making sure they understand why they're pulling it up. So yeah, anything in the roadway, if you see signs and you've got questions about it, feel free to reach out to our code enforcement team. They are only 2 people. They can't drive around every single road, but
They're just sticking them everywhere. I'm just kind of curious.
oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Director Ray will update you on the end of year parade as well as the November bond referendum.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. As interim managers mentioned, that we have 2 projects that you initiated with the 2025 budget, the transportation bond education campaigns. We just wanted to give you a brief update where we are in that process. We have 2 firms that we have spoken with, and we received proposals from. We're looking at the proposal of services, basically it's a la carte, and we're going through those proposals now. We're looking at their video production, graphic designs, direct mail programs, the public meeting strategies, and even their bonding branding. So we'll be looking at choosing those initiatives that best match our efforts to support our education bond, not education bond, transportation bond, excuse me. Education, sure. Long night. Next couple of weeks, we hope to get under contract with one of these firms that we feel like is the most qualified. And month of September, looking to narrow down our focus on the transportation bond and the initiatives that we'll be doing a part of that, with a October blitz leading all the way up to the November 6th election date. So that's our plans. That's what we're moving forward with. We hope to come back to you in the following months and introduce you to the firm we choose to give you some insight on them. I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you, as we will be, to get your insights on this campaign, but wanted to at least give you insight where we are today, and we are working on it, and I'll give you opportunity to ask any questions.
All right. Questions for Chris? Comments on the board?
Hearing none, looks like.
I don't have any questions or comment. Oh,
It's okay. I have a question, but it's not in regard to what you just presented.
Okay.
Oh, you did. No. And I don't know if you can answer or if I have to get Director Culpepper back up here, but just back when you were talking about the 7-Eleven and the ramps being closed, can you just educate me on how soon, like when you're talking about the police and the fire and all that, how soon do we put signage out, or does DOT have a requirement? I don't know if you can hear me, I'm sorry. Does DOT have a requirement that puts signage out prior to that, like weeks, days, so that citizens start knowing our traffic flow?
There are DOT requirements for them to post signage in preparation for it, and at that time, that's kind of when we'll all be made aware of it publicly. There will be some initial conversations. I've been trying to maintain contact with the DOT official who has been reviewing the project and keeping everything together, and I'll make sure that everyone is aware of it, and we can bring that forward and even look at having it as a manager comment to come out to you guys so your constituents aren't surprised.
Thank you.
Did you have a commissioners?
no, sir, not related to this. I just wanted to, maybe if you and Caleb could please send something out as we prepare for Hurricane Debbie, whether it hits us or not. If you guys could just maybe send some information out to citizens on how to prepare for that.
Yes, ma'am. I will work with the fire department and Caleb, and also send out some best management practices.
That'd be great.
So yes, ma'am, we'll accomplish that for you.
Thank you.
The other piece that we wanted to update you on is the Christmas parade. We have a small group that is working from Chief Boykin, myself, Sheila, Amy, Nick, and Teresa Piner, that have met with 2 potential promotion firms, event production firms that would handle the planning and the management of the Christmas parade. The presentations went well. We're reviewing their proposals right now, and we hope to be making a recommendation to one of these firms to get started immediately. As you know, Christmas will be here before we know it, as time flies. I will tell you there are a couple proposed changes. We are looking to be a little more Zebulon focused, a little bit smaller parade. We're looking for a shorter route. One of the things that has always been a challenge and has become even a more and more challenge over my career is our fire and police, our ability to respond to emergencies, because Arundel and Gannon are such a main transportation corridor here. So we're looking for a shorter route with a more Zebulon-focused parades, with the opportunity of maybe doing a small event such as a food truck rodeo at the end. So all ideas are on the table. As we work with these consultants, we'll be bringing those back to share with you. Again, we hope to bring that consultant in front of you in the coming months to introduce you to them. But we want to let you know that that was a priority of yours, and we are working on it, and we're making progress. And hopefully soon we can start making announcements about who the firm we hired, how people can get signed up for the Christmas parade, and we can look forward to having a nice parade this year. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions, comments? Christmas parade?
What's going to decide which firm we go with, Chris? What is it? Is it?
It's going to be a combination of experience. Both of these firms are highly qualified. We're going to look at, we've talked to references. So we're going to use our typical processes that we would do for selecting an engineer, architect, and do our, maybe a little more informal, but we are going to put some due diligence on the selecting those firms to, you know, they created events in the past that have been successful, how they address, you know, traffic and creative ideas that they've come up with to help us make this successful. So it'll be a wide range of things we're looking at to get the most qualified firm.
With that said, what part of will citizens play in that? How will we get citizen engagement? Initially in our conversation, I thought we talked about ensuring that part of this is citizen-driven as well, and they play a key part.
Due to the time, I don't think at this time we're going to have us be able to get the citizens involved as much as far as the planning for the parade and stuff. Their involvement will be able to participate in the parade and, you know, have community pieces. We are looking at an event coordinator that will coordinate events so we get to certain designated spots where they can dance or do other performances and stuff. Due to the late hour and time, I don't know if we're going to be able to have any citizen involvement at this point.
It's going to be tough.
Yes. With that said, we can still entertain any comments from.
Yes, we'll be glad to take any direction or any ideas anybody has. We're still early in the planning process.
So okay, being in the public forum, what is it that you recommend the citizen to, how to reach out or whatever it may be to figure out what and if they can do?
Clearly, if they have any ideas, they're welcome to reach out to me and share those with me. If anything they'd like particularly to see, some things that maybe they've seen in past parades they don't like, any type of, whether it's positive or negative comments, we're willing to listen to them. So ask them to reach out to me, share those with me, drop me an email. Any comments and all comments are welcome. And how they feel like they can make this program better.
Is that something potential we should have our public information and put something out, have them put something out so citizens can know that they can have that input? I think it's going to be key.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. We can surely make that happen, sir.
All right.
That would be good.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harris.
I was going to say that.
I also say that once we have an events coordinator, that person will come up with a strategy for how we can get our residents involved and receive some feedback.
Could we not invite them to join in some of the meetings that you guys are?
I don't want to jump ahead and talk about what that looks like, and I think that's what Chris is trying to avoid, so that it's not like staff is the one formulating this thing. I think once we have an event coordinator, or a contractor or consultant, that person will lay out that strategy, which we'll bring to you, and I think residents will have opportunities as to how, I mean, you can give us some guidance as to how you want that to go. If we're gonna have more like a committee or something like that, and you want residents to participate on that, I don't know what that does to the timeline, because we've only got August, September, October, November. Once you hit your Thanksgiving, it's pretty much fairly late. So I think that what we're trying to do is make sure that we have an events coordinator who would then be able to reach out. But we definitely know we don't want to blindside you or our residents with how things go.
I just think, like I said, I want to express the importance that the citizens have an opportunity, whether they're going to have that opportunity.
Yes.
We
We'll
figure out how
get
to-
public announcements out, encourage anybody that's watching tonight to see us. It's not that we don't want to involve them publicly, we're just worried about the compression of time and making sure this event is successful as possible.
Any other questions, comments from the board? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, and we will definitely keep you updated during my weekly messages to you. And again, if there are things you're hearing from the community that we need to be aware of with regards to that, please let us know. I don't think that you have to wait for us to have a consultant for us to hear from you if you're hearing something that we are not.
Well, that, just to let you know, that's what I'm hearing now. They want to be, if you want to be able to play a part in how that outcome.
Okay.
The parade. All right,
We'll
thank you.
definitely be mindful of that.
All right, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
just want to say the reason why I think it's important was the citizens were the ones who pushed so hard to have a parade, so I just want to make sure that they get as much input as possible. Understanding the time, I do understand it's a time constraint, but I just want to make sure they have the opportunity, being that some of the citizens requested this.
Okay. We'll work on that with you.
Thank you.
So we've got a few recruitment updates, but before I hand it off to our HR director, I have a bit of a good news to share with us. You're familiar with the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. It's a national organization, about more than 20,000 members. They've awarded the town of Zebulon the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the fiscal year that just ended on June 30, 2023. That really is not a big deal. I think the big deal is the fact that this is the 31st consecutive year that the town will receive this award. And I believe it's a testament to the hardworking nature of the staff that we've had over the years. So I just wanted you to be aware of that and to express appreciation to our budget staff for getting us to that point, but also to you for your diligence in approving the budget in the last year before this fiscal year. We're hopeful that this particular last budget too will receive an award when the time comes. So thank you for your leadership. So, Lisa?
All right, so the IT director recruitment, the assessment center has completed, and we have made an offer. We are currently waiting for the background to come back, and hopefully they will be starting within the next few weeks. The assistant town manager position, that advertisement closed on the 21st, and the hope is that we would be able to have an assessment center in September, but that will be dependent upon when the new town manager begins, because they need to be a part of that process in choosing their assistant town manager. The planning director recruitment has begun. That brochure went out on August 2nd, on Friday, and so that will close on the 21st, and we will see where that goes. We're excited about the work that's being done by Good Hope Works, and hopefully that will go well, and we get a lot of interest from people across the state. And then we have several other positions open. We have stormwater managers open, police, fire positions will be opening up. The fire program position, specialist position closed, and it's taken us a while to get through 100 applications. We got quite a few for that, so we've got a good group to look at, and Chief Perry is reviewing them at this point, and hopefully we will have interviews coming soon and someone hired, by the first part of September. Would be great if everything goes well. Any questions?
Questions, comments from the board? Commissioner Miles?
I think Public Works had a couple of new hires. I see a few new faces around the town hall. I think they just hired somebody, and I didn't know who that was.
We do have some new hires. We have brought in an intern who will be working in HR and in several other departments, working on several projects. through AmeriCorps. She will be here for a year. We have the construction closeout coordinator working in Public Works. His name is Joseph Collins. And we haven't hired, I don't think, anyone else new in the last month,
Okay,
other than those two.
So did we do away with assistant HR clerk that we had? I think you had somebody assistant in HR. They're no longer with us? Or no?
No, they're no longer with us. They left, and I knew that that would be the case when they were hired. It was just to get us through some tough times and a lot going on. The intern will have the opportunity to hopefully come and present to this board. They'll come to some meetings. They will have time to work in each of the departments to learn about them. They're really interested in local government, and this gives them the opportunity to, really learn by doing hands-on. And so it's a great opportunity for us. They are not our employee. They are an employee of the School of Government. They cover all salary. We do have a cost involved, but they cover, all benefits and all of those things for this person.
Can you explain to a little bit how that program works?
It was a North Carolina Leads Fellowship, and the School of Government reached out to us, and they reached out to all over the state, asking about, were we interested in the program? And we stated we were interested. We had to put in an application, and we gave them several projects that we thought would be options for them, as well as letting them know that, they would learn the day-to-day of how government works. And we were waitlisted when it first went in, and someone was not able to pick up this person, and we stepped up and we took them on. It was a part of the budget that we presented.
All right, thank you.
Approved by the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions for HR? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, where am I? Need a motion to go into closed sessions as allowed by per North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11 to discuss property acquisitions of property located at 2900 Zebulon Road, owned by Stephen Mitchell and Connie Braybor for the purpose of possible conservation. Also, the town of Zebulon versus Mayo, case number 21-CVS-1015054910, Wake County. Also, the Deacon Development Group, LLC versus Town, case number 24-CVS-0206692-910. And personnel discussion. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Motion passed.